Noelle Nikpour, GOP strategist, and Alicia Menendez of the New Democrat Network. Alicia, welcome back. Noelle, it's a pleasure to meet you. How are you? I'll begin with you. What's with the Republicans and the Democrats, or the liberals and the conservatives, or whatever you want to call anybody, but what's with everybody getting together to fight the Afghan war?
Well, I got to tell you something. First of all, nobody loves war. We all know that. And I think what's happening now is that, people have voters' remorse. People voted for Obama when he was running because he said, I'm going to end the war, not expand the war into Afghanistan. So is the GOP going to jump on this? You betcha. We're going to jump all over this. We're going to jump on his political weakness and his leadership, and we're going to try to scoop up some of these independent votes.
So this may be politically beneficial to the Republicans, but before we get to that, Alicia, are we in a situation where the alliance between both political factions, if you will, actually increases the probability that our soldiers won't have to stay in Afghanistan much longer?
Yeah, I think that's exactly the case. Listen, I'm a bit of a skeptic. I don't think that this Republican Party generally operates from a place of principle. So when I look at what they're doing now, it seems like they're trying to fit Afghanistan into their larger narrative about how Barack Obama's incompetent, he's impotent, blah, blah, blah. You know the gist of this argument. And I don't think that this fits, right? He came into Afghanistan. It was a mess. No good solutions. He said, I'm going to scale down in Iraq. I'm going to finish in Afghanistan. And I think this move towards Petraeus shows that he has actually kept his campaign promise, contrary to what Noelle is saying, and seeing through what he promised.
Go ahead, Noelle.
What do you mean incompetent? Look, the guy cannot leave. The guy said that he was going to end the war in Iraq and bring our troops home.
But he is bringing our troops home, Noelle.
Over and again, babe, he did. And another thing, he's expanded it to Afghanistan. People that wanted no war are unhappy with it.
Noelle, he's bringing our troops home. 68% of Americans support him doing that.
So he's giving them a timeline of when they're pulling out.
So, Noelle, what do you want him to do? Sort of like click his ruby heels and all of a sudden bring them all home? I mean, that's also unrealistic.
And
part of what we're asking him to do is to be responsible.
What about her point about just the mere tactical aspects, Alicia, of announcing the deadline?
Right. I mean, I think there's been great debate about this, and it's certainly, I know Senator McCain has been very much against this from the start. Tactically, perhaps that was not the best move to start, start putting out a timeline when they couldn't, in fact, meet those goals. But I think what we're seeing now with the beginning of this execution is more important than anything that's come before.
I'm going to move on to Blagojevich, but I would say, listen, if the more people that don't want us to be into that, the more politically unified we are in questioning this war, I think that the better the interest of this country will be served, in my view.
I agree.
Turning to from an unpopular war to an unrepentant politician, they kind of go hand in hand in some cases. The former Illinois governor says he was prosecuted for doing what comes naturally to anyone in Washington. Take a listen.
The very thing that they're trying to convict me of, political horse trading, and in this case it was merely discussing possibilities with lawyers, political advisors, and remember the emissary sent to me by the president himself, political horse trading. This is what they're trying to now criminalize.
What do you say, Alicia? Might there be a grain of truth there?
A grain of truth, sure, that the optics on this, but I think there's something very different between selling a Senate seat and trying to negotiate with people. There are bad apples in both parties. To make this more topical, there are rotten eggs in both parties, but I think this general narrative that Washington is just so broken and so beyond repair is unfair and untrue.
What do you say, Noelle?
Oh, my gosh. First of all, doesn't he look like a Cabbage Patch doll?
Well,
oh, my gosh.
A cute one, though. He's a good-looking Cabbage Patch doll. You know.
But
you do worse.
His mouth, got him in trouble in the first place, and it's getting him in trouble again.
Are you surprised that he continues to show up? Does he strike you as someone who really doesn't even care what the outcomes are?
Oh, my
in other words,
gosh.
he just wants to be in the room.
He loves the fame game. He's on every show he can get on. Look, he denied the fact he's going to probably be on another reality show.
But
he can't
is
get
he
enough.
typical of the way they do business in Washington, D.C. on some level, in your opinion?
Yes, it's pay to play. Everybody knows that. He got busted. Look at Charlie Rangel. Look at everything going down in Washington, D.C. It's no old deal.
Alicia, are you going to defend Washington, D.C.?
What's amazing to me, but what I would like Noelle to talk about as someone who used to do political fundraising, who perhaps still does political fundraising, to me, a big part of the problem is the campaign side, money and politics, something that you've been a part of, so you got to in some way own it, right?
Yeah, but I mean, I'm talking about Blagojevich, and he got off on 23 counts, and he's going on talk shows. He needs to be lucky that he got off on those accounts.
But
yes,
Alicia's
I mean,
point is you're part of the problem. In other words, well, so you know what? It's not. Believe me, it's not personal. I'm sure I'm part of the problem too.
Thanks.
But I mean, for that matter, Alicia's probably part of the problem on some level. But to the extent to which those of us who participate in a system that is designed to find the lowest common denominator and race each other to the bottom through a culture of demonization, well, that culture inherently, I don't know where it comes from, is destroying our country, period.
He was doing his own fundraising there.
Blagojevich, I understand,
he was doing his own
but what's your
deal.
answer to my question in terms of your contribution, our systematic contribution to a system that's basically a race to the bottom for this country?
Look, I'm raising money for the good guys. I'm raising money for the conservatives.
Decide who the good guys are.
Because I'm a GOP strategist, so I've already made that determination.
I cannot take it. A pleasure to meet you, Noelle. Alicia, very nice to see you. Thank you very much. Coming up here, the world's biggest boat has set sail, and it's coming to America. We'll show you something bigger than an aircraft carrier. It takes 11 cranes to load it.